Hello, my name is Tanay Tiwari and welcome to Buzz This Week, a show that you were, until this point, watching with a bit of guilt. Because exams aane wale the na. But exams to aapke ab cancel ho gaye. Watch the show guilt-free. Let's talk about some memes, cricket news, and also we have John Cena joining us on the show this week. WTC final, the Kiwi threats. IPL 2021's absentee list grows, and are Kohli and Sarfaraz similar? Okay, so now that we've had a close look at the New Zealand side that will play India in the WTC final, let's identify a few key threats for Team India. बता रहा हूँ यार, गुस्सा करने वाली कौन सी बात है? First of all, there's that one man, that batsman who every time he bats, the bowlers feel conned. Devon Conway on his test debut at the Lords against James Anderson and company with wickets falling at the other end was just sublime, as he became only the 12th Kiwi batsman to bring about a century on his test debut, and he didn't stop there. He surpassed Sourav Ganguly to register the highest score for a visiting test batsman on debut at the Lords. He was like, Dada gaye the.
एक दिन मैं भी जाऊंगा.
And the similarity between the career paths of Devon Conway and Sourav Ganguly are really striking. Conway went on to register his maiden double century in tests as well, but he wasn't the only bright spark in that New Zealand side. The evergreen Tim Southee picked yet another fifer, and Kyle Jamieson, with his bounce and now in England with movement in the air, proved to be very lethal. Sometimes I wish Kohli sir na Team India mein hote. तो Kohli sir से request करते थे कि Kohli sir, आप Kyle Jamieson के bouncer को scoop कर दो. All while another debutant from England, Ollie Robinson, was precise, controlled and effective with not only the ball but also the bat, qualities that he would have liked exercising years back when he was a teenager and he was tweeting. Because these tweets now shadow not only a spectacular test debut but also perhaps a promising test career, because the ECB have suspended Ollie Robinson pending an investigation into those tweets. Although none of that cricketing action on the field really mattered, because New Zealand at the Lords failed to beat England again. Rain took away a day's play from this test match, which was promising to be a poised encounter by the end of it, which meant that by the end of day 5, both teams shook hands and it was a draw. New Zealand's search for a win against England at the Lords continues. Meanwhile, Team India jetted off to England and served their quarantine at the picturesque Aegis Bowl. And every time we looked at those pictures, we were like, quarantine ऐसे करते हैं क्या? अपन को भी करने का है. While Captain Kohli, before boarding the flight to New Zealand, didn't mince his words. He said that anyone who thinks that New Zealand start with an advantage should not take the flight to England. Now, those are the words of a captain who means business. I'm not pretty sure though if a lot of overseas players are saying apun ko bhi karne ka hai for IPL 2021's latter half. After ECB MD Ashley Giles confirmed that England players will not come to IPL 2021 because he wants them to prioritize international cricket in the build-up to that T20 World Cup. Now, Bangladesh Cricket Board have refused to give an NOC to Shakib Al Hasan to come and participate in IPL 2021, citing the same reason, because of a busy calendar in the build-up to the T20 World Cup, which means that an NOC to another Bangladesh white ball star, Mustafizur Rahman, is also almost out of the picture. All while Dinesh Karthik from the KKR told Times of India that Pat Cummins, even before leaving India, told Karthik that he won't return for the latter half of IPL 2021. These players are keeping in mind the extra workload that IPL might put on them in the build-up to the T20 World Cup. They want to arrive at that big stage fresh and ready to go. But the Indian players will have to play in the IPL. Now, will that serve as a boon or a bane? Will extra match practice help them? Or will a lot of games in a short span of time affect their workloads? Because remember, a lot of them will come out straight from that test series in England and go into IPL and then the T20 World Cup. Which side of this debate are you on? Is it good for Indian cricketers or bad heading into the T20 World Cup? Tell us using #BuzzThisWeek on Twitter. Faf du Plessis, who's gone from playing under MS Dhoni at the CSK to playing under Sarfaraz Khan in the Quetta Gladiators in the PSL, when asked about captaincy style, said that Sarfaraz and Virat Kohli's captaincy styles are pretty similar. Interesting. I'm pretty sure if you ask Sarfaraz, he'd have to say this.
My answer also the same.
While the PSL gets ready to get underway in the UAE, there's trouble brewing in Sri Lankan cricket because as many as 38 players, an increase from the previous 24 players, have decided not to sign the tour contracts offered by Sri Lanka Cricket to them because they say that the grading system and the payment system from Sri Lankan Cricket is not transparent. Now this casts Sri Lanka's tour of England, for which they depart in a few days, in a jeopardy. All that we can hope for is for this logjam to end and for Sri Lanka to continue playing international cricket. And before we wrap up for the week, here's a bit of a Monday motivation for you. Azam Khan, who lost 30 kgs in just 1 year, is now a member of Pakistan's T20I squad. He's made it with just his sheer willingness and also a lot of talent. See, on Buzz This Week, we're all about positive news. Last week, your Buzz challenge was to identify key threats for both India and New Zealand in that WTC final. In extension of that, this week, what do you think will be the main weakness for both India and New Zealand? I'll give you mine. I think up top, playing that swinging, seaming ball in Southampton against Southee, Bolt and Jamieson for the Indian top order is going to be very crucial, something that they must keep in mind. As for New Zealand, their struggles against spin, even if there's a little bit of it, will be extracted to the hilt by Indian spinners. That includes my favourite, Ravindra Jadeja. What would your pick be? What do you think will be India's weakness and New Zealand's weakness? Tell us using hashtag BuzzThisWeek on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. ये सब चालू है अभी, भेज दो. That's all on this episode of Buzz This Week. I'd like to specifically thank Mr. John Cena for joining us on the show this week. What? You didn't see him? Or maybe you couldn't see him because he was right here.